We ring these chimes to come together as one and to affirm the peace that we hope for this world. Good morning and welcome to Granite Peak Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Prescott, Arizona. I'm Leslie Grady, your worship associate today. We extend a warm welcome to all. We are glad you are able to join us. We hope you are in good health. Patty will be returning next Sunday for worship, and so will I. We want you to stay connected, so please join us for the breakout rooms after the service. This will give us time to chat with congregants in small groups. If you are joining for the first time, please check our website for more information about us at prescottuu.org. We are a compassionate spiritual community that celebrates diversity, nurtures the personal and spiritual growth of all ages, shares our gifts, promotes justice for all, and serves the world we live in. Although we are physically apart, we are still in community, and we continue with some of our meetings and activities virtually. So please continue to check the weekly peak and our website and Reverend Patty's videos for announcements. And join our regular weekly Zoom meetings, Together Wednesday Forum, and Wednesday afternoon storytelling. The children are meeting at the Faith Development Building today at 10. We begin our service in the Unitarian Universalist tradition of lighting the chalice. Today's reading is from Mac Adrone Adonai. The future lies to the youth of today. Wheels keep spinning by. The cycle is not over. And as the morning greets the azure sky, roads of life open. Take a look and ponder. Shadows of the past can't easily fly. Changes are constant. Live your dream. Build your goal. Dimming days shall unfold. Nurture your young soul. The old path soon will fade, and a new path will come. Generation of youth with power and wisdom. Young children of today, the future waits you all. Turn the dark night into a gleaming day. Hear your beloved country. Hear the nation's call. You can make a difference in your own way. You are a clay of hope shaped by inspiration. And like a tree, you bloom bearing a fruit of awakened voices, bringing a solution. Arise, you, brave, gentle, and humble youth. The future lies on you. The old ones shall rest. The seeds they've sown will reap. You all will harvest. Guided by good examples, not walking astray, but building unity, becoming a model, because the future lies to the youth of today. We light this chalice, a symbol of our heritage and gratitude for this beloved community. Please join me as we say our covenant. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community. Thus do we covenant together. As we listen to this musical interlude, take a moment to embrace the feeling of connection and community that we have when we gather each week. Let us remember that this congregation and its programs are supported by your generosity. We also give back to the greater community through our Seeds of Support program. During the month of August, our recipient is Empty Bowls. Please read about them in your order of service and the newsletter. To give during this distance time, please go to prescottuu.org. On the bottom left-hand side, click the word Donate to contribute. The link is also available in the chat on this video. What is given in love is received in gratitude. Blessed be.
As you watch the following inspiring material adapted from General Assembly, we invite you to keep two things in mind. First, the ways in which the young people's descriptions of their spiritual evolution resonate as similar to your own lifelong journey. And second, the ways you might apply what you learned today to your interactions with young folks, wherever you might encounter them. Enjoy.
Months ago, our synergy planning team, Kitty Valbuena, Molly Gottfried, Ellie Ferris, Jenica Davis-Hockett, and me, Stevie Carmody, had one of those magic moments that I've seen happen when planning worship in teams. We were deep in contemplation and conversation about this day, what it meant for bridging youth, and what it meant for Unitarian Universalism. And suddenly, there it was, the perfect metaphor to capture this year's synergy, what moving through this pandemic might mean in the lives of young people. And it came to us as a gift. In the Slinky, so much meaning was held for us. The spiral of time and growth, the ever-expanding perspectives we hold, the memories of childhood. Resilience and snapping back, pulling and stretching and growing, getting stretched too thin, and getting a little bent up, tangling up and getting entangled. So our service today and our gift to all the bridging youth is this Slinky. It structures the arc of this service. As the Slinky starts to bounce and move just as it was made for, we remember too, childhood and those moments of coming into our own in our faith. As the Slinky gets tangled up and entangled, we too will remember our adolescence and those times we've gotten caught and snagged. And as the Slinky learns to roll in a new way, we too will remember how as we grow into adulthood, we learn new ways to become, incorporating the past, adapting to the future. May this metaphor be a reminder that as we pass from one generation to the next, we are slinked together.
The slinky starts to go down the stairs. What was a defining moment when you feel you really took ownership of your faith for the first time? I grew up Unitarian Universalist, which allowed me a wonderful and strong foundation to grow as a person. But up until 7th grade, I wasn't really aware of the importance which my religion held for me. Church was the place I was brought to each Sunday, and not much more. And then I went to my first middle school con. Cons are weekend-long youth events that are held from region to region. There's activities, workshops, worships, and lots of community bonding. Now, I was a shy child, and as such, was dreading this weekend, where I envisioned that I would be uncomfortable, awkward, and inevitably alone. This clearly was not the case. I quickly found friends and was invited into a community which has become integral to my sense of self. However, it was one specific moment at this con that pushed me past the definition of faith which had been given to me and allowed me to ascribe my own understanding in its place, the worship. At youth events in my region, we have nighttime worships where we enter singing, sit together in a circle with a chalice at the center, and we worship together. This was my first time being at a youth-led worship, but the con leaders had given us a basic idea of what to expect. They told us that worship could be meaningful to people and that it was important to respect the sacred space we were creating. Although I understood how they were asking us to behave and on a surface level why, it wasn't until afterwards that I truly understood what they meant by a sacred space. While we do worship as a group, we reflect as individuals. The quietude of the space allows for a genuine contemplation and creates an inherent sacredness for us. For me, it is a moment of mindful quiet amidst the energetic and sometimes chaotic events of the day, and a chance to revel in the wholeness that I feel while in this community. That worship was my first spiritual experience. It was that night in that dark room, sitting on that wood floor, listening to someone only a few years older than me reading a poem about belonging, that I became the driver of my own faith. And drive I did. I kept going to cons and excitedly anticipated the worships. I would note the differences and similarities between each and every one. I went home to my parents and gave them a meticulous account of the worship and my musings. These worships were my connection to my faith, so you can imagine my delight when I first learned I could plan them. During my first high school con, I attended the workshop where we planned that night's worship. The conversation invigorated me. There was such a depth of thought and so much to consider when planning. It only deepened my connection. We had that worship outside, under the stars. We talked about the wideness of the universe and about our nevertheless significant place within it. Prior to leading this worship, I had thought that the height of my individual spirituality was in attending one. But sitting under those stars as we gathered the chalice and supplies afterwards, I found that I personally felt most connected and engaged in my faith when I served in this capacity. My faith, my spirituality was in my hands, and I felt immense freedom in this. This was something for me to determine, nobody else. That is what I learned during that first con all the way back in 7th grade. And understanding my faith more fully as my own is what I have aspired towards every day since then. As I have grown and developed within this UU community, I always return to that first worship as the beginning of my journey and a defining moment for my understanding of faith. Its significance cannot be underestimated. I am forever grateful for the joy of this community and the contentment my spirituality has since brought into my life. Thank you.
In this stage of our life, we often find ourselves twisting and tangling in our relationships and our lives, much like a slinky. When was a time that you experienced this, and how did it affect the path you were on? At the beginning of 5th grade, I had just started at a new school in a new city. Having left behind a close-knit school community and all of my friends, I was pretty nervous. But early in the school year, during recess, 2 girls came up to me and invited me to play with them and their friends. It was really great to meet new people, people who became friends. We got to know each other, sharing about our lives and what we liked to do, inventing new games that we played over and over again. They were both in the school jump rope club, the Sky High Skippers, and encouraged me to join too. I loved trying this new activity and getting to do it with my friends. One day at jump rope practice, I decided to partner up with someone new who I had talked to a little bit, someone I didn't know very well, but who I thought could be another great friend. We had a lot of fun together during practice, learning new jump rope tricks together, and I was excited to keep becoming friends with her and to introduce her to my other friends. I told her all about the things we loved to do at recess, and I told her she could come join us if she thought it sounded fun. And she was excited too. But it turns out that my other friends were not excited. They were actually really mad that I had made a new friend, even though I hadn't been planning to stop being friends with them, even though my plan was to have us all be friends. I always felt like the more friends, the better. But the ways that they treated me made it really clear that being friends with them was not a good idea. They ignored me on the playground, not letting me join in the games we had made up together. They called my house, and when I answered the phone, they would say incredibly hurtful things to me. When my parents stopped handing me the phone when they called, they would pretend to be other people that I knew, just to get me on the phone. I went from thinking they were my best friends to dreading seeing them at school. It was heartbreaking. My new friend and I stayed close for many years after that, making new friends both together and separately. Over 20 years later, I still don't know what it was that made those girls so mad at me for making a new friend. People are complicated. Relationships are tangly, and life is tricky. But this detour helped me be clear about what I need in life. It matters to me that there is an abundance of love and community in my relationships and in my life, because that's what keeps me thriving.
We We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening. We are opening.
The years and years of your lives, all the tradition and all of the history, all of your experiences, and all of the material of your day-to-day lives arriving in this moment of turning. In wonderment and awe and joy and sorrow, we are here to acknowledge your particular journeys, acknowledging publicly in this place and in this time that you are enough, that you are worthy, that you are sacred, and that what you have to give to this world and give to yourself is a blessing. In uncertainty and fear and grief, we are here to lift up the struggles that have been with you, the places and people and parts of yourself that you mourn, and the unknown places and experiences that lie ahead, affirming that truth ever present and ever in need of reaffirmation, that you are not alone. You have a place in this faith, and how you continue to discover it will be a great unfolding. We know we are changed by you.
When we circle round to our childhood and youthhood, what wisdoms do we find that have persisted as you've rolled on? I was in preschool in the early 90s when early childhood development research was still considered something of a pseudoscience. I have an incredibly vivid memory of a character our teacher at North Dallas Day School invoked to strike fear into the hearts of me and my classmates. the nose monster. The nose monster was a little creature who hid in the upper corners and crevices of our noses. And should we be picking our noses at a time when the nose monster resided in it, he would snatch our fingers up, rendering them stuck inside for the rest of our lives. Our teacher went to such great lengths to convince us that this was true, that she claimed the nose monster did this to her sister, whom she subsequently brought a picture of to show and tell, where her sister had her hand casually rested across her face, kind of like this. Her finger and her nose in close proximity was more than enough to convince a room full of preschoolers of the validity of our teacher's story. 30 years later, it doesn't take extensive education in early childhood development for many of us to receive that story and collectively facepalm. And it really did nothing to curtail the actual behavior of picking our noses. As 4-year-olds, we hadn't yet developed that kind of capacity for forethought and impulse control. It just made us feel more anxious and guilty. Unfortunately, such methods draw striking parallels to the ways in which the concept of sin is presented to young children in many faith traditions. Now, I'm well aware this example is quite benign compared to the trauma that sadly many children of this world have to endure. But my point is that we come into this world as loving and trusting beings until we have experiences that tell us not to be. This ranges from things like the nose monster to far more serious matters. Fear thrusts us into self-preservation mode, and as Yoda tells us, fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. So much of the harm and oppression we witness in this world is done in the name of self-preservation, and often a delusion of self-preservation. With that said, Unitarian Universalism is an invitation into what we already know within the core of our being. The knowledge that we were endowed with before forgetting it in our confrontations with monsters, both real and imagined, which tells us that we are autonomous creatures, yet completely interdependent with one another. That we are surrounded by love and made of love. The oxytocin produced in our brains when we receive human touch, something we have been so deeply deprived of in this pandemic, is living proof of that. And finally, that when we behave in harmful and oppressive ways, we're harming ourselves in the process. In 1989, the year before I was born, Unitarian Universalist minister Robert Fulghum published the instant classic, All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. Among the learnings, he writes, share everything, play fair, don't hit people, clean up your own mess. When you go out into the world, watch for traffic, hold hands, and stick together. Nose monsters aren't real. Okay, I made that last one up. But finally, and most importantly, everything you need to know is in there somewhere. Perhaps it has always been. Even before kindergarten, before you became civilized. So as you go out into the world and you face challenges, certainly it's important to have boundaries and some self-protections. especially those who face deeper marginalization. So watch for traffic, hold hands, and stick together. But in the words of T.S. Eliot, don't cease from exploration. And the end of all your exploring will be to arrive where you started and know that place for the very first time. That place resides in the stillness of your heart that existed even before your birth. And you may just hear a voice coming from it, one that says, you are loved, and don't be afraid.
The moment of bridging is a question posed to our whole community. Bridging asks the question, as our young people show up in our communities in new ways, how will we show up for them? Will we change alongside them as they roll on? To us, the General Assembly, the congregation of congregations, I charge us to extend a network of hospitality and welcome to bridging youth, whether they're staying put or going forth into a new community. Practices of hospitality mean asking the question, what do you need? And offering the responsiveness and openness that comes from really listening. That type of listening that communicates, we are and will be changed by you. And it means offering practical care to and for young adults. Rides to worship services and actions and home from jail, meals and fellowship. It means checking in regularly and sending along those lovely care packages. Your youth and young adult staff in the Office of Lifespan Faith Engagement is here to partner with you in this hospitality and support for youth and young adults. Get connected. We'll be sharing that information with you. In that spirit, I charge us to recognize and engage with the unique and crucial faith formation phase that is the beginning of young adulthood. Now is a time when Unitarian Universalist young people are encountering and wrestling with an often harsh and dehumanizing world. Young people need the ministries and theologies of Unitarian Universalism in conversation with their experiences, the clarity of our liberatory values, and the solace of faith community to hold us in this growth. I charge us to take seriously the leadership and brilliance of young people themselves within our communities. And when we say you are the present of our faith, that means co-creating decision-making tables that take their voices seriously. That means valuing their labors of leadership. That means nurturing and offering sustenance to them so that they may abide in their faith for the long term. I charge us then to remember our history and to put our resources where our commitments are. I charge us to invest in and support young adult ministries within our congregations, at local campuses, and within your clusters and across our regions and continent. We see the good work of Unitarian Universalist young people rebuilding and rejuvenating their movement for themselves in community. We ask that our broader Unitarian Universalist community support the good work of young adult ministries like the Young Unitarian Universalist Project and the Young Adult Revival Network. We ask that we break the cycle of disinvestment in ministries to young people. The moment of bridging poses a question, and it will keep posing this question year after year. Commit and recommit and repair and grow. This is our work. This is our charge. If you, the gathered congregation of General Assembly, will commit to this charge, speak aloud at home and write in the chat an amen, and I will, a blessed be, or whatever affirmation sings from your heart. Amen. Ashe. and blessed be.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. We are going. Heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah, 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 oh yeah, yeah.
Please join us as we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Let us listen and work together with our youth to build a better world. I now invite you to take as much time as you wish to visit with your friends and visitors in our chat room. Stay online to be put in a chat room. Our worship time has ended, and now our service begins. Go bravely forward in our continued support for a just world. Stay healthy and be safe. So may it be.